So then second gear, we come back through neutral and put it in second. Now it's going in here across to second gear. Slightly less reduction. And then out. And then, just imagine third gear. Here's third gear. It's going in here, same, and then this thing's always turning. So, but now third gear is locked on, and these guys are unlocked. They're turning, but they're not doing anything. The power is going around this corner and out. And then fourth gear is broken.
That's why it's on the bench. Being
There.
difficult. There you go.
Fourth gear, now the power is going from here, and now we've locked this input onto the output, so fourth gear is going to be 1-to-1. Right.
Is that other shaft is also locked? Everything always
It's
turns.
well, it's
Always
always locked. But this
always
now this thing is doing nothing. We could drive the car if we only wanted to have fourth gear. We could drive the car without this shaft at all, and we'd save some power. Because now we've got it locked together. A little sideline is if the transmission is noisy, but it's quiet during fourth, if fourth gear is quiet relative to the others, if it's whiny, then maybe one of these bearings, one of these three bearings is bad on the counter shaft. Because now this shaft, when we're in fourth, it's not carrying any load. It's just going for the ride. So if it's noisy in the low gears and quiet in fourth, then probably one of those three bearings is bad.
Is that that milk truck kind of sound?
Yeah, just kind of
Whiny.
Third and fifth. That bearing?
fifth.
Third and fifth.
Third and fifth would probably be one of these other bearings
Yeah, it just
on
rattles.
the main shaft. So now, to go to fifth is the other rail here, which is way back here. So again, now it's going to go through the counter shaft. It's probably going to go down through here. It's going to go across. And look at here, this gear is bigger than that gear. So that's going to make the output run faster than the input. So it's like a little overdrive. It's less than 1-to-1 the ratio. So the output is turning faster than the input in fifth.
So Glenn, are the gear ratios pretty much the same across all the years?
Yes.
And
Yes and no. But on the street cars, they're all the same. Some 1300 Junior had a different fifth. GTA's had a number of different transmission gear ratio sets, but for the street ones, they're pretty much the same. So then,
question of it?
one
That's all right. Continue. I have questions.
we have one last gear is reverse. These
Always a high. The really noisy one.
That's very important.
notice that these two gears aren't touching each other. They're just missing. But then we have this one, which is on the other half that sits in here. So when we shift it into reverse, right now we're in neutral and nothing's going on here. But when we put it in reverse, then this one engages onto this one and then onto this one. So if I can turn it there. So now, see the output is going the opposite direction of the input.
So is it
If I
connected?
take it away, it turns the same way. So by having three gears, it kind of reverses the direction of the thing.
So is it connected to second? I was told by John Rocco or something that when I it pops out of reverse a lot.
The reason that they
And-
pop out of reverse is this fork can kind of get worn because it's just kind of rubbing on the side of this thing, and somehow, for mysterious reasons, if this bushing wears a little bit, it's on this shaft, it gets a little bit crooked like this, and it starts wearing out this fork, and then the fork can't push it in far enough, and it's just barely in there, and when then you apply any power, it jumps, it forces it back to neutral.
Okay. Is
And
that
that's like the most common malady of these things, that start jumping out of reverse.
so that it's a pretty common malady and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
easy to fix?
Yeah.
Depends.
So, I mean, anytime, if the car needs a clutch, or it's grinding into second or something, or we're gonna take the engine out, I said, is it popping out of reverse? Because we can fix it while it's out. Also, this fork, all these forks, when they're in neutral, they need to be centered. They're kind of adjustable. So you want them to be halfway between, the fifth gear and the reverse gear. Maybe if this thing isn't adjusted right, it won't take it in quite far enough into reverse. And the same with these other gears. If it's too much to one side, it may not go into the other gear. But they don't seem to jump out of the regular gears like reverse.
So when you go to address the problem and you lighten gears, some of these gears get lightened, but then some people want to actually change the ratio. You know, they do like a close ratio.
Well, they can't do that then.
Changing ratios requires buying special gears.
Are these called forks or what is that device called?
These are called sliders, I call them. Tom Seamus?
He's
He left. He's
He's in the back there snickering.
stealing your business.
I call them sliders. I don't
Sliders.
Sliders.
sliders. I think they have another. You don't think they have a more official name? Well, we call them sliders.
Yeah, I'm sure they have a fancy Italian name.
Sliders in Italian.
So,
You gotta realize that this is not an Italian transmission. This is a Porsche
oh,
transmission.
that's right.
And it's an interesting note.
What do you?
The transmission,
synchro.
the transmission is a German transmission. There was an agreement back in the 50s that was made between Alfa Romeo and Porsche. Porsche had the patent on this transmission and synchros. Okay, before that, Alfa was using something called the Borg-Warner transmission, which is brass synchros, made by Borg-Warner. That was the patent. Porsche wanted fin drums, aluminum fin drums. Alfa wanted this kind of a transmission. They swapped patents, and they didn't pay for it. They just swapped it. Okay, so Porsche got the fin drums from Alfa, and Alfa got the Porsche transmission. These transmissions, if you tear apart a Porsche transmission, they look exactly the same, but they're not the same dimensions.
So they don't even
Everything's a
change.
little bit different. So you can't use the Porsche parts in an Alfa
How long
transmission.
did
Porsche
that
design.
transmission go?
The-
But what years roughly?
This transmission
Yeah, the one that,
was in 1959.
until when?
Today?
Still?
To the last.
Okay.
Till the last spiders, yeah.
Last of the front wheel engine, front engine, rear drive spiders.
Technology?
Yes.
Warner tunnel case,
Yeah.
yeah. Those used a brass synchro and
A cone. It's cone
yeah, it's a
shaped.
cone shape with little ridges on it, which is what
Oh,
you
that's the
find
one.
in almost every American 4-speed that we've ever invented.
Well, but then how come those don't have to use special oil? The early Alphas do.
Maybe.
Actually, you're supposed to use Dentacs in the whole tunnel case.
That's what I mean.
They do work better.
It's the brass.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
Yeah,
If
but
the
that
U.S.
one-
transmissions were
US
using
have
brass, how
brass.
come they didn't have to use special oil?
Because they're like twice as big, and maybe there was enough friction between them.
Yeah, right. They didn't want to be special.
Maybe. Maybe. So, this part is the part that was the Porsche patent. The way that the gears synchronize. Now see, all the 5 gears have synchro mesh, this synchro thing to help you shift the gears. The reverse doesn't. You can see they're just some big ugly gears. So again, like I said earlier, if it grinds into reverse, it's because the clutch is dragging. And a lot of them, even with the synchro, because first gear is big and heavy, a lot of them with the synchro seem to grind in the first too. If your car tends to do that, grind into reverse or first, put it in another gear first.
Not second.
Right.
Put it in third or fourth, and then quickly go to the gear you want. If I'm going to go to reverse, I put it in fourth, and then whoop, right over to reverse. Put it in fourth. You know, if the wheels are stopped and you put it in fourth, well, this thing's going to stop, and the clutch will stop dragging momentarily, and then you can quickly shift to the other gear. And if you're going to shift to first, you might go from third and then quickly into first.
I've heard that you don't really need to go all the way, but you start to go into the gear,
Yeah.
and then it'll...
Yeah, because
If it's not dragging much, yeah, that'll stop it.
yeah, because these
friction
synchros
thing.
are essentially little clutches, and when you start to put it into gear, the slider starts to go up over this thing, which is kind of hump shape, and it starts to go here, and it starts dragging on here, and this is like those limited slip things. They're metal, but they're kind of rough metal, so they act like little clutches too. So as you start to shift gears, the slider has internal teeth, and eventually they're going to engage onto these little teeth here.